What's going on, family? It's your boy Simo the C Mitchell checking in with another Bird Bath ATL, man. And man, we over here at Twin Peaks out in Buckhead, man. Pre-game in the draft, man. Breaking news, in case you guys haven't heard already, James Pearce Jr., all of his charges have been dropped on the condition that he goes through a pretrial intervention and completes a program. If he completes a program, then they will drop all of his charges, and not only have the police department agreed to this, Ebiketie Jackson agreed to that as well too, which I think is huge for him and his development moving forward. Now, I'm just speaking solely from a player standpoint. I think this is good news, just specifically for James Pearce Jr. Hopefully, he will be going about things to get the help that he needs. But I think it's great that it's a great sign for him that Ebiketie Jackson has decided to actually go along with what the state is doing. Now, of course, the NFL, they reserve the right to be able to go and do their own investigation and create a further suspension if they want to. Now, in my humble opinion, I think that he's still going to probably carry maybe a 4 to 6 game suspension, maybe 4 to 7 game suspension. I can see somewhere easily in the sweet spot of about maybe 5 or 6 games. Though there is precedence for this type of thing. We've seen in the past Ezekiel Elliott, he was accused of some domestic violence case in which he was never convicted, if I'm not mistaken, but he had a 6 game suspension. Antonio Brown, he threatening text, and he carried an 8 game suspension with that. So it's not as though the NFL doesn't have precedent for what they do in these type of situations. It's going to be really interesting to see what they have moving forward. Even Cameron Sutton, he had an actual domestic dispute with strangulation, and I believe he was definitely convicted with that, and he carried an 8 game suspension. So we've seen these scenarios play out before. It could be worse. It could be better. The NFL could decide that they're not going to do anything at all. But just speaking from a purely football standpoint, you want to see this guy on the field. He gave you 10 sacks already, and it's hard to really replace those 10 sacks. This speaks volumes to the caliber of player that they had. I definitely believe that the Falcons did all they could do to make sure that they were able to keep him on the field. I'm assuming that this means that they didn't have a whole lot of evidence, or the evidence wasn't stacked up enough. That's why, again, they're looking to have him go through this program, which they'll still get some money out of him, but not an actual conviction. But I think that he probably has shown some level of contrition, and hopefully this bodes well for him. But I think this changes things for the Falcons. I don't think that they're going to have to necessarily address their edge rush as soon as we were thinking that they might have to, and this just gives them a lot more depth for what they have right now. Don't forget that Azeez Ojulari, he's a guy that he signed in the offseason, as well as Ebiketie. Ebiketie. So if they're able to still get James Pearce Jr. back on the field, I think that this team is definitely going to be able to go to that next level. We've made a few trades. They've shored up the middle of that line a little bit more to be able to get some more pieces, depth pieces, but also just run stuffing pieces. And, this takes a little bit of pressure off of what Jalen Walker would have to do coming into this year. But I expect Jalen Walker to also make huge leaps and bounds in his development this year as well, too, in the way that they're going to use him a lot more. I definitely was expecting to see both of those guys combined for 20 sacks last year, and I believe that this year that's easily an attainable goal, even if James Pearce Jr. is suspended for the first 6 or 7 games. I think that he's still the type of player that can still get you 10 sacks again this year. His pressure to sack ratio was huge last year. Had some of the highest amount of pressure rates amongst players in the league, not just rookies, but even the veterans out there. So he's the type of guy who has just a crazy, wicked first step, and just wreaks havoc. And he's always in the defensive backfield, and I expect him to be able to take another leap this year along with this. So I think that them getting in a couple of more veterans and hopefully that locker room presence will be able to keep him on the straight and narrow this year as well, too. Again, we're pre-drafting. We're pre-gaming for the draft. Stay tuned. follow us right after this to see us come along with the live draft party and to get our reaction to see if the Falcons get back into the first round this draft right here. But I believe with the advent of this news right now and the fact that James Pearce Jr. could be back next year, it almost all but guarantees that we'll be pivoting and not going with anything anywhere close to the edge in the first 2 or 3 picks this draft, unless again there's somebody that you just can't pass up. I expect the Falcons to potentially probably go with either a defensive tackle, wide receiver, or cornerback with their first 2 picks. So stay tuned. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you think this means for them moving forward this year? And let me know, do you think that James Pearce Jr. is going to play this year? C-Mo to C. Mitchell. Check it out for Bird Bath ATL. Point Game Official. Deuces.